Off the Leash is off and running. Week 9 in the books for the Cleveland Browns. Mark Schwab, Leah, Doherty, Ashley Holder with you for the big fun show.
Hello.
The big program. Ladies, true-false question of the week. If the Browns lose in Baltimore, they are out of the running for the AFC North.
I mean, are you out of it? I don't know, but you'd have to do a whole lot to stay in it.
That's the true false. You can't pick the gray area.
Okay. We always want to go gray with the question.
If I have to pick, I'm gonna say yes, they're out. Just because 2 losses to Baltimore is tough, right? Bengals are coming back. I don't know if I can give them that on the road, even though it's the last game of the season, which is going to be crucial for both teams.
Plus, you add the Steelers
exactly
loss
the Steelers
as well.
loss as well. Even if they were to, go 1-1 and beat the Ravens this weekend, and then the following weekend, lose to the Steelers. Lose to the Ravens this weekend, and then the following weekend beat the Steelers. I would still say probably they're just going to be in a really, really tough hole.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I would go true.
True.
I'd go true on that.
I agree. They are right now 2 back in the loss column to Baltimore. You have to go by the loss column right now because the Ravens have not had their bye week. If they lose, they would be another game back. And actually, I'm sorry, they're 1 game back. Lose and they're 2. And it's then a de facto 3 games because the Ravens would have the tiebreaker winning the head-to-head. You're not overcoming that. You'd have to get past Baltimore. You're not overcoming that. I just don't think you are unless for some reason the Ravens decided to lose 4 or 5. And why would that happen? So I just feel like they have to win. It's rare can a Week 10 game be a season-changing game. But it can be season-changing for the Browns in the fact that if they lose, we're talking wild card.
Yeah,
if they win it, they're still in this. And then they got to go beat Pittsburgh. But that is a smaller hill to climb.
Yeah.
Finding it harder to talk with a cough drop in my mouth than I normally do. But these are the struggles right now.
I just want to let everyone know, me and Mark are struggling.
We are
fighting. I am fighting to not
I'm like
cough
saying
right
words that it's word salad. They have to win this. By the way, I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs because I believe they would be a very strong wild card contender. But you always prefer to win the division. You're guaranteed the home game, and then you're only contending with other parts of your division, not all these other teams in the AFC. We're looking at, now you're checking, what did the Buffalo do today? I know they lost this week, but they're out of the playoffs right now, but they're going to get back into this. You're looking at all these other teams. I don't want to deal with that.
It's fascinating when you look at the AFC North picture right now, because if they were to go to the playoffs right now, every AFC North team would technically be in the playoffs, and I don't think that's ever happened before, correct?
It's only had the potential to happen like the last, 10, 20 years. I can't remember. But no, it's never happened before. It would now because every team just... apparently the rest of the AFC is just trash other than Miami?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree, though, too, with your true-false question to where I don't see the Ravens stumbling anytime soon. And I think that's what it is. That's what makes me think that the Browns would be out of the running for AFC North because, like you said, the Bengals are only getting better with Burrow getting healthier and healthier. Yeah. And I don't see the Ravens stumbling anytime soon.
They looked great against the Bills.
Yeah. By the way, Baltimore, they have huge too. They got the Browns. Then they got the Bengals on Thursday night. If they win both of those, turn out the lights. Yeah, they got the North. And the rest of us are talking wild card for the rest of the way. We are in agreement.
And there's no, I saw a couple of reports. Now, I don't know if I'm assuming it's not true, but I know they were talking about it. There's no way that the Ravens and Browns get flexed to a night game, right?
It's too soon for that. I'm sorry, it's too late for that, I believe, isn't it? That's got to be done a couple of weeks ago.
I saw an article, too, on it, and I was trying to read up on it.
Yeah, they couldn't. It's too late in the game.
Yeah, Mark's got to figure out his travel schedule.
I'm supposed to be leaving.
They can't be messing with you.
Sunday Night Football.
Outstanding Al Taylor.
Mark Schwab.
That'll be a fun road trip. What is it like to road trip with Mark Schwab?
He said, I heard that he listens to 80s music.
What is it like?
Him and Al listen to 80s music. That's what he said.
Well, Al, now we're getting far afield here, but
Shout out to Al.
Al is awesome. Loves his 80s on 8 on Sirius. So if you're in the car, that's what you're listening to. I'm more of a podcast guy, so I'm not a big music guy.
So are you going to listen to Off the Leash over and over and over and over and over and over?
I memorized this show, I will then go back and start memorizing the
One thing about Mark, he loves hearing the sound of his own voice. So he's
my
just
word.
gonna listen to the podcast over and over again.
Can't help his
Especially with the cough drop in his mouth. He loves it.
Please don't mention the word cough.
Okay, so here's a question. How in the world do they win this game with backup offensive tackles? Not just 1, 2. And I know it's going to take about 10 seconds for the 3 most puke-inducing words in football to come out. Next man up!
Well, you know what? Just listening to, Josh and Eric on fifth quarter on Sunday after the game, I think they made a really good point of, the production from Wills hasn't been that, detrimental to the point that, like, they're in an awful position now. I think the one thing that hurts them is, like, the longevity of how long someone's been in the mix. But I hate to use this, but if we know anything from Josh Dobbs, you can leave and go to a team and do pretty well the next day. But he is a Tennessee Vol, so I expect nothing less from that guy.
So there's a little bit of a bias. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you get him in the fold, you start getting him working. Obviously, this week they're going to get him, throwing him right in the fold, and what a game to start, for him. But I just think since you weren't getting as much production, as long as, Hudson can stay around the same amount. I mean, you're doing pretty good from where you were.
And I think a good example of what we've seen, right, is DeJuan Jones coming in and stepping up, right? I think there was a lot of concern of, okay, how could he handle stepping into that role as a rookie? And I think we've seen good things from him, the way that he's been adjusting. And, they potentially talked about maybe swinging him into that left tackle role, how exactly that might look. Stefanski talked a little bit about it. They're viewing all of their options, but he stepped up really well for them.
Yeah.
He's been better than expected. I mean, he was drafted, obviously, the size with him was such a talking point when they drafted him. But just because you're big doesn't mean you can play. You got to coach that guy up. And so far, they've done a pretty good job with that. They've got him playing they've been without Conklin now since the first week. And I don't think anyone's talking about, hey, right tackle is killing them. They're going to need to run the ball. There we go.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, I'll jump in while... Oh my gosh, you guys. They're over here dying.
This is going to be episode 9, the coughing episode.
Yeah, the cough.
I will say the good news is you talk about Conklin, right? That's a season-ending injury. You have Chubb. That's a season-ending injury. That's what we feared when you saw Jed go down on Sunday, right? It looked really bad. He was in immense pain. You were worried, here we're going to go again. This is going to be another season-ending, knee injury. Stefanski did say they're hoping he's just going to miss 4 weeks with what they say, MCL injury. So that's better than ACL, some of those other things. And so you really just need someone that's going to be able to step up for those few weeks, and then hopefully you can work Jed back in.
One thing I will give the Browns is they've been able to bounce back pretty good from all of these injuries. I will say that for them to still be 5-3 now, it's just, I think it's a testament to that they're still chugging through. And on top of that, the injuries and being so uncertain at quarterback, right? So I think that they're doing the best that they can. And again, to still be 5-3 is a good, decent position to be in considering what they've dealt with. So I think that this tackle position is going to be just as a good, smooth transition as the other ones have been.
That's one thing you can say about this team.
They've been used to it already.
They're resilient. I mean, you think back to Pittsburgh and Chubb going down, you say, season's done. They're over, right? And then Deshaun, is he coming back? Is he not? They're done. And even if Deshaun's playing, he doesn't look very good. And so they're done. And they find a way to win games. They find a way to work whenever. I mean, they've had so many people go down with injuries. Just look at Sunday's game. How many guys got injured? Yeah. Now you look at Marquise Goodwin. He's in concussion protocol. There's just so many guys that got injured that you think there's no way they bounce back from this.
Yeah.
And that's, people want to come after Kevin Stefanski. That's something to be said there. That, they haven't lost their way. They've overcome.
Totally.
They obviously played a terrible team last on Sunday against the Cardinals.
I think is very important to remember.
It is. However, what I'm going to get at here, this shouldn't fly then. I didn't understand this. The run game was terrible. Jerome Ford stunk. Averaged 2.2 yards a carry. Kareem Hunt was 2.7. They couldn't run the ball.
No. And I think, too, there's something to be said that while the run game hasn't had a lot of production, what was it, Kareem Hunt's 4th straight game with a rushing touchdowns? Like, while he's not racking up yards, he is scoring points and is having some production. But no, if your run game's not doing anything, and then receiver-wise, you're pretty much just looking at Amari Cooper. how effective is that going to be?
We've never seen a game like that from Amari this season. Guy? So, I mean, and the last play got him 49 yards. So, I mean, let's remember that too. So, if you take that away, he was under 100.
And they utilized Njoku more. Thank goodness. That's what I've been saying.
But that also shows how bad that defense is. They left Njoku wide open.
Totally.
I could have scored on that play.
That's not going to happen against Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly. That's those easy things are not going to happen. Even with Deshaun getting his pass deflected off of Steele's head, and then Amari comes up. I still don't think Baltimore would let that happen. They think someone's going to get up and try and swat it, bat it down, something like that, before they just sit around and look like they don't know what's happening. I just think it's so important to remember that this team really wasn't good. And I feel like they didn't even try to a point.
And if there was a game to work Deshaun back into, I mean, it was this one. That was the game to work him back in, test out his arm, watch him throw a couple deep balls, see how he could do. You have more room to kind of make some mistakes or work out those kinks as you're working yourself back from an injury. But now it's okay. Now we have Baltimore coming down the pipeline and then the Steelers. And
that's another defensive battle.
No room for error at this point. Yeah.
So we had talked a lot on this show about Watson. As obviously, everyone talked about Watson and the shoulder, and is he back, and is he not, and what's going on, all the week-to-week stuff. It really felt like, though, this time, okay, this is moving. We're moving on from that issue and that talking point. He was pretty definitive after the game when he said, Monday, I felt like I turned a corner. I showed up. I had more strength. It wasn't a problem. And that was really the first clear communication I felt we had from anyone on this issue. It was always better, day to day, getting treatment, working through it, wants to be out there, all that BS stuff that was the first, here is a definitive day that this was the definitive thing, it was better. And it makes you feel like, okay, we're done with this.
Yeah.
We're done. We can now move on to the next thing.
That shows you why they didn't trade for a quarterback, right? A lot of people were thinking, are they going to trade for...
I still think they needed a quarterback. But anyway.
Yeah, they're not going to trade for a quarterback. Okay, then they know that on Monday, Deshaun felt good and felt like he was going to play and could go hopefully the rest of the season. The biggest thing, too, is Stefanski said he didn't have any setbacks from that game. You had wondered, like we saw against the Colts, is he going to take a big hit? And, is he going to be able to get back up? And how's his shoulder going to be? And he took some big hits on Sunday. And he was able to keep going.
Dude, he's a freaking quarterback. He should take big hits.
Right.
Yes, but with the shoulder, you were worried.
But see, that's the thing that is going to bother me against the Ravens and moving forward to bigger powerhouse teams is that right there. It's like them being like, I don't even know who I call them, fans or whatever. Just people, when they try and give him an excuse. Not that you are. I'm not saying you are. But, when they're like, oh, well, he got hit right there and he landed on his shoulder. It's like, dude, he's a freaking quarterback. He's going to get hit. He's going to land on his shoulder. His head's going to get hit. That one position to me, is like the least amount of contact. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I feel like they're always going to have this excuse for him. You know what I mean? And I think the Browns organization will always come out like that. Because every time now he gets hit, we're all looking like,
we're just worried because what happened in the Colts game, we didn't think he was, for lack of a better term, like that fragile. Like you didn't think he could take one hit.
And they made that about a concussion that wasn't even, we knew nothing about.
Yeah. And so I think seeing that there's at least progress, that he didn't have any setbacks, we kind of saw the strength of his arm. There, to your point, moving forward should be no excuses. We saw him absorb big hits. We saw that he could throw the deep ball. Okay, there's no excuses kind of using that shoulder anymore moving forward.
And the timing couldn't be better for that. Obviously, we talked about the importance of these next two games. This game, starting with Baltimore, really these next two, but you can't win the one 2 weeks from now this week. You got to start here. This is why he is here, to get on the field with guys like Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, the big boys of this division, and the other powerhouse players in the AFC when those games come. That is what the Haslam said, we need one of those. And they went and got one. And they paid him a lot of money, and it hasn't worked out to this point. Well, okay, if the shoulder's better, go play Sunday. Play well Sunday. Go play to the moment. We need to see this.
Yeah, and you need to see complementary football, which, yes, we saw against the Cardinals. Granted, it was against the Cardinals. But that was really the first time we had seen both the offense and the defense seem like they were on the same page.
Yeah, they were playing the team at the Texas Tech could have beat them.
Yes, okay. But I'm just saying, that's what we need to see is complementary football, right? That's the first time we've seen both the offense and defense on the same page, playing strong together, feeding off of each other. And so you need another crazy performance like we had from the defense, and you need to see this offense take those steps.
You had some of the guys talking about Baltimore, right?
That's right. Juan Thornhill spoke on Monday about facing Baltimore once again.
I'm excited. I mean, we beat Cincinnati, lost to Baltimore. So this is a rematch. I'm super excited about it. I feel like we'll come in with a different swag about us, a little bit more energy, and we'll play more some better Cleveland Brown football for you.
That's what you can say about this defense. They got a lot of swag.
They do. I mean, I don't think he did it yesterday, but Myles Garrett sometimes does a crossover dribble behind the defensive line. That just oozes swag.
Yeah, well, you can just tell that they like each other. They have fun playing together, and that makes a huge difference because you want to go that extra mile for the guy next to you, and you could tell. And what was it on Wednesday? Jim Shorts, Myles Garrett said this, came into practice and said, we have to get back to playing like ourselves. After you saw the Seattle game, he said, we have to get back to being ourselves. And what a better game to get back to being yourselves than just getting to go crush the Cardinals.
Baltimore tore apart Seattle.
Yeah, that's concerning.
37-3
and
was
Beckham
the
is
final.
back this time around.
Yeah.
Beckham was, even though he's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's not going to do it. He's
not, but I think you still can't. I think sometimes you still need to account for him.
Yeah, here's what he's going to do. He's going to chirp this week, and then he'll probably go out on Sunday and make one or two big plays. He will act like in those moments he's the greatest player ever and just won the Super Bowl MVP in that moment. And then he'll finish with like 4 catches for 42 yards. And I don't know if they'll win or not, but Odell Beckham Jr. will continue to act like he's Jerry Rice. He's just not very good anymore. He's just mouthy and gets hurt all the time. They run the ball a lot. Keaton Mitchell, an undrafted rookie, had a big day yesterday. 9 carries for 138 and a touchdown. He had a long run. We know what Lamar can do, 10 for 60. Gus Edwards, I'm actually a big fan of the Gus bus. Yeah. 5 for 52, 2 scores. He's an underrated player in this league. Doesn't catch the ball a whole lot, but he has a one-cut-and-go hammer back, and Gus Edwards can have big days. This team, we know what the identity is. They can talk about they brought in Monk and they want to throw more. It's still Lamar,
give Lamar
the running
the ball,
game, and the tight end.
Yeah, and don't forget, you got to look at what they did to Seattle. The defense held them to 3 points. There wasn't even the most that one of their players got for on the ground was 16 yards. That was the highest.
Well, and if there's something too that the Browns defense said they needed to work on, it was the run game. So we saw improvements, right? They absolutely destroyed.
They shut down Keontae Ingram, who I like and is a nice player. I can tell you a little bit about him.
This team can get you on the ground. They can get you through the air. So I mean, I still think just like it was the first one, it's a defensive battle, and I kind of feel like the Ravens. I feel like they was off their game when they was here, to be honest with you. They didn't play like they're playing now. I really think they was off their game. And
they didn't need to, though. They had the Dorian Thompson-Robinson incident going on.
I understand that.
That was a gift game.
But still, that game still isn't what I think any indicative to what we'll see this weekend, regardless of like Deshaun being out there. You know what I mean? Or that DTR was out there and had that awful game. Still, the Ravens they were barely doing anything. It took them forever to get 2 touchdowns.
They didn't need to.
Right. I get it, but I'm just saying, even if they could have, I still don't think they would have played the way they are now. They've
hit a stride.
They've hit a stride.
We will see
and
a stronger
at home behind their. I mean, that fan base is like.
We will see a stronger Ravens team than what we saw coming in here to Cleveland.
I think so, and I think when you put too much, it can't all be on the defense this week for the Browns.
It just
can't.
No.
It's got to. We got to stop with that. Like,
that's why
the defense. Oh, we like it. We like it like that. No, dude.
That's what we were just saying. That's why they gave Watson $230 million.
Yeah.
Show up.
They said why they didn't trade for a quarterback because he's got 230 in his pocket. That's why.
And because they knew he was going to be back, so he should hopefully be back and
close to 100%.
He better be back.
All they have to do is
his arm better be hanging off.
Never gets hurt again because none of us want to relive the PJ Walker experience.
Let me tell you something. I just saw a clip of Matthew Stafford against the Browns when he threw the winning touchdown.
Oh, against Detroit? You just saw this?
Yeah.
Have you seen this, Leah?
And his arm freaking fell off of the shoulder.
Destroyed.
And he still win it. If Matthew Stafford can do it, gosh darn it, Deshaun, you better get your butt out there.
Was it like the quarterback at Kentucky last season that like his finger came out of place and it was bent in the weird direction and they like popped it back in?
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. We know it wasn't Deshaun though.
Burrow's bloody finger last night was grossing me out. Looked like
but I mean, for your shoulder to be out, dude, and you still throw it, like, come on, it's like
That's one of
Figure it out, dig deep.
That play doesn't get enough run. Matt Stafford, if you haven't seen it, Google it.
Yeah.
It's Matt Stafford versus the Browns, like game-winning touchdown. He gets absolutely destroyed on a hit, and Ashley's right. His shoulder is
hanging down.
It's like his shoulder is like if you had a transformer as a kid and the arm was broken and it was just kind of hanging down there. That's what he had. He had a shoulder of a hamburger, and he goes out and throws a game-winning touchdown pass, and you're like, that dude is nails. Yeah, you saw that. You're like, all right, Deshaun, let's go. And I wasn't ripping Deshaun while he was out. I really wasn't, because if you're hurt, you're hurt. I ripped the team for how they handled that.
It was just weird how it was handled. Nobody's like, oh, suck it up and get out there. It was just more like the communication.
It stunk.
It was just weird.
They mishandled it. He should have been on IR. We know that. We kind of hashed that over ad nauseum, but that's the way it is. All right, they win this one, and let's go to fantasy land for a minute. They win this one, and they beat Pittsburgh. Dude, Cleveland will explode the Monday after the Steeler game.
Yeah.
At that point,
they might have a parade.
It would be.
We only have parades for winning the NBA Finals and losing the World Series. And if you weren't here in the 90s, you're not going to understand that. But trust me.
We were being born in the 90s, Mark.
Listen, ladies. Listen
Me and Leah didn't
to
know how
me.
to talk barely in the 90s.
I was only born on the tail end of the 90s.
Oh, my gosh.
I got to live my boy band 90s life, though. You know, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. I was a part of that wave. A little bit.
The years are just going by. Here we go. By the way, the Steelers win again. We kind of talked about the whole division like that. And Cincinnati. It's funny. Even if the Browns do win this game, we talk about how big it is for them. This division, even if the Browns win it and they've knocked the Ravens down, this division is so crazy because of Cincinnati getting better. I do think the Steelers will fall apart, but there's a whole lot of football to be played. There's a lot of teams, like the Bengals already lost to the Browns and the Ravens, but they could beat them both and they're tied. The Browns could get even here with the Ravens and get tied. There's the tiebreakers could be so weird, and this could be such a strange second half.
It's a fascinating division to watch. How it's kind of been from the jump that this could be anyone's game, you know, especially when you started off with Burrow hurt. I think from the start, everybody was like, anybody could take this. We don't know how it's going to shake out.
It is up to the Browns and then the Bengals. They've got to bring the Ravens back to earth, or else the Ravens will fly away with this one. That is going to do it for another action-packed episode of Off the Leash,
where we cough all the way.
This is just like, what's that? What was the segment, I think, on Saturday Night Live? Coffee Talk? This would just be coughing talk.
Oh, we should name it that.
I think we got a name.
Good job, Mark. Coming in with the title.